it's been a minute. I apologize for the lack of live streams. And to make up for it, I always gift memberships at the beginning of each week, the first stream of the week. But because I have not done a lot of live streams, thank you, Steven. Thank you, NG. Thank you, X-Men Superfan. I'm going to also do 20. I'm going to gift 20 memberships as well, because I just want to thank you guys for your patience. And so thank you. Thank you, Danny. I see you gifted some memberships there. So yeah, so it's gifting memberships. That's right. We're making it rain, baby. And so that's right. So you guys are so great, and I appreciate your patience. And there will also be a live stream tomorrow as well. Trying to get back on track. I'm not used to covering shows. It's been a minute on that. I missed you too, Wanda's attorney. Happy birthdays, VTV Psycho. And so I'm covering Alien Earth now, and I'll be covering Peacemaker. And so I'm just kind of like getting back into the swing of things. And it's like the lazy days of summer. So thank you everybody for your patience. But you know, I'm getting back on track. I'm getting back on track. Let's see here. Hey, Lazy Lugo, I'm glad you're a member. And in the south of France, what a wonderful place to be. Okay, so I'm so glad you guys are enjoying Alien Earth and my coverage. I'm very excited to be taking that journey with you. It was a little bit of a slow start, and that really surprised me. I was like, whoo, and some of you did not like the show. But I think Alien Earth is picking up, which is great. I think the next week or so, it'll start to be a hot show. But whoo! It trended number 2 when it aired, but it's a little wobbly. It's still getting its legs, its space legs. Okay, so we have 3 fantastic stories to discuss today. Please try to keep your comments and questions to the story at hand. I will be more attentive to your questions and comments at the end of each section, and then we will have an Ask Me Anything for the final 10 minutes of the stream. Okay. All right, story number 1. Hold on. Sebastian says, what are your thoughts on the leak? I've heard that's not going to happen on August 27th. We'll see. I heard that was not true. So, but we'll see. You know, maybe it's true. But I heard that it was not. Okay, story number 1. Where would it go? All right, so. Boop. Oh no, I covered up Krypto's face. Sorry, Krypto. Oh no. Okay. So we have a couple of things to discuss with what's going on with James. I mean, it's the death of 1,000 announcements. Just like I wish he would just do a proper presentation. Remember the days of Marvel and DC doing proper presentations where they would just have like a, they would tell you what was happening. But now it's just kind of like, I just think there should be more organization. But it gave me a headline, so I guess I can't be complaining too much. So where did this headline come from? Well, James Gunn is in front of the press yet again because he's promoting Peacemaker Season 2, which starts a week from today. It drops with 1 episode on HBO Max at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I have, in fact, seen the first 5 episodes out of 8. And I'm under embargo, so I cannot tell you anything about it. But I do have my review all ready to go. That's what I was doing yesterday. And the review embargo lifts tomorrow at noon Eastern Standard Time. And my review is all ready to go. And so, yes, both Peacemaker is a weekly show. And it's starting with just 1 episode. But I can tell you that episode is about an hour. So I will at least be breaking down the first episode. I don't know if I'm going to do a week-to-week on this show. I might instead do a spoiler review when it wraps. I'll have to see what the interest is in the show. But I do have a rather lengthy review, in fact, non-spoiler, dropping tomorrow at noon. That's all ready to go, already uploaded. I'm glad you made it oddly specific. Okay, so he was at the Peacemaker Season 2 premiere, and of course people are asking about stuff besides Peacemaker. They're like, tell us more about the rest of DC. Give us headlines, right? Give us clickable headlines. And unfortunately, James Gunn is always only too happy to oblige. So he says, I'm calling it the Superman Saga. That's what he said last night. He said he's working on his next film. He's already done an extensive treatment for it. And he wants to start production as soon as possible. To which I would say, but wait a minute. Didn't you say that you weren't going to start production until you'd finished a script? A treatment ain't a script, my friend. But maybe he's a fast writer. But he really wants to fast track his next Superman movie. And he called it the Superman Saga. And it seems he's going all in on the super family. Which is interesting to me because when you take a look at the box office, this is the current box office for Superman. It's not, domestically, it's quite strong, actually. This is very good. The domestic is impressive. 333.7, very strong. But look at the international. This percentage is the reverse of what it should be. It should be 57. The domestic should be what it is, but the international should be like almost double what it is. The international should be much further along. So, again, some people are saying, oh, the superhero genre in Hollywood are in a different space right now than when Man of Steel came out. But I still feel not being able to match Man of Steel, a movie that came out 10 years ago, and we're doing the movie the favor of not adjusting for inflation. It's not great. I still think Superman is a tough sell. You can't tell that to a Superman fan. Maybe James Gunn is a massive Superman fan. They just won't hear it. You're like, look, I know a lot of you really like Superman, and that's awesome, but he's just simply not as popular as Batman. And that's the reason that Zack Snyder added Batman to his sequel, Batman v Superman. We're going to talk about Zack Snyder at the end, but there's a reason that he did it. But, and we're going to talk about the reason probably why James Gunn can't do it. All right? So anyway, but we're getting ahead of ourselves. But that's all speculation. But one thing that seems to be happening is that Brainiac is coming. Okay, that's very interesting. Here's Brainiac. We've been begging for Brainiac. That's what we wanted in this movie. And perhaps, so why are we thinking Brainiac? Well, there's a tease that came out and some footage that was released behind the scenes of Superman. And it had this storyboarding that James Gunn apparently had done with Supergirl. Thank you, Amelia. Superman, Krypto, so cute. And then that looks an awful lot like Brainiac's head. Thank you, Andrew. That's very sweet of you. Right? So you're like, wait a minute. Oh, this is kind of like Fantastic. Marty, you're not talking about Fantastic Four. I mean, you're talking about Fantastic Four specifically, but the Superman family could be perhaps thought. I can't believe we're getting a Superman family, by the way, before we get the Bat family. Wait, what? What? What is it? There's a rumor going around that Robin is in the Batman sequel, Batman 2, Batman Part 2. I heard that rumor was correct, but James Gunn insists that it's not. He says, it's a lie. It's a lie. What a horrible, bold-faced lie. So we'll see. If it is Robin, he better be a freaking kid. I don't want any more adult Robins because it makes absolutely no sense that Batman would ask some adult man. Unless you're telling a certain kind of fan fiction, it's got to be a child. So that's why it was funny in the Batman Part 1 when the mayor's son was so cute and everyone was like, hey, kid, want a job? Obviously Batman kept looking at him because it reminded him of himself. We were all like, yes, that's Robin. He's the right age. He was the right age. I feel it has to be Dick Grayson. I don't see how you could start with someone else, and I think his circus background works perfectly. If they skip right to Damian, I'm going to be like, he's definitely merging the two universes, because that would be silly. Maybe Damian is the current Robin, and as a big Damian fan, I would not complain. But I think it would be weird, that's the problem. Like, do they really want to go through all the Robins to be able to tell the story correctly? That's going to take a really long time. But of course, it is pivotal to Damian being, the last in a long line of Robins. Harry points out that Gunn didn't actually deny the leak. He just said, don't believe everything you hear. He just shouldn't have commented on it. And also, what's wrong? You think Robin's going to be a surprise in the ad campaign? You know, you think they're going to be like, I mean, that's something that's going to be really heavily promoted. So I don't see any reason why it's an issue if it gets out. I mean, they're going to have to cast Robin. And so we'll know. So to me, that's like not, I mean, you're not spoiling a twist in the movie or something like that. Okay. So let's talk about Brainiac though. See, that's the problem. We're still talking about Batman. And even David Corenswet's talking about Batman all the time. David Corenswet in some of the, by the way, David Corenswet, such a delight. Everything this man does. And I think, same for Rachel Brosnahan, by the way. So personable. There's this clip of them working out the kiss at the end of the movie, talking to each other, and you're like, it's just phenomenal. And also, Corenswet's going around saying, like, please put me in a Batman movie as Superman. And you're like, we're trying, David. We're trying so hard. Okay, so let's talk about why they might want to do Brainiac. Danny, you say you'd prefer Zod. Maybe Zod could be part of this. Robert Pattinson is also, I agree. I think Robert Pattinson is great. So, of course, Brainiac loves to put cities in bottles. There he is with one now. He's like, have you seen my collection? He's like Ariel. My collection's complete. I'd love it if he did a musical number. And James Gunn probably would let him. But, of course, he's infamous for putting the city of Kandor in a bottle, right? Pocket size. Well, not really a pocket, but still portable. And that, of course, is a Kryptonian city. Supergirl didn't come from Kandor. She came from Argo City. But, I think it's interesting, particularly when they've changed the stuff that's going on with Superman's parents, what would Krypton be like? Although I have to say the Krypton that, one of the reasons I think Brainiac was able to put a Kryptonian city in a bottle is that they're a pretty peaceful society. If they're like the people that Bradley Cooper kind of hinted at, I think they would like pummel Brainiac to death even if they were shrunk. So it's kind of, I don't even know if it works anymore when you change Krypton like that. But, maybe General Zod is, the point is that Brainiac very much ties into the history of Krypton. In fact, on the Superman animated series, Brainiac started out as the artificial intelligence of the planet Krypton, and he is actually Kryptonian technology. But that's in the animated series, although, I wouldn't complain, again, if they put that in the movies. So Brainiac is a great villain to explore the history of the super family, the Superman saga. By the way, I'd like to just point out that I think it's hilarious that David Corenswet has his phone tucked in his pants. I love it. I just think it's so personable and funny. I just love it. And that's right. Maria, that's a great point. If you do Brainiac is Kryptonian AI, James Gunn loves to do commentary on current things. Oh, wow, Francis. That's very generous of you. Thank you so much. So, James Gunn loves to do current commentary. And I think that, to be honest with you, I think he's very good at it. I think James Gunn does an excellent job with commentary on real life things and putting them into the scope of the comic book space. So, since AI is moving forward at a huge rate, I think that would actually be fascinating and makes me a little more interested in Brainiac. Although, with all the things that were introduced in the new Superman movie, I've lost a little bit of interest in Brainiac. Although I would agree with Ben 10 that he needs a star. He needs a movie star to join this franchise. And so let's see who he can get as Brainiac. Michael Fassbender, who basically plays Brainiac in the Alien franchise? Thank you, Hypertop. That's very sweet of you to say. Now, of course, a lot of people are like, whoa, 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 whoa. Where's my world's finest? If he wants to fight Brainiac, fine, I guess. But, Alexander Skarsgård, Mika, is an interesting choice because, of course, Alexander Skarsgård was on the short list for Lex Luthor. He would have been, I like Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor a lot. I don't want to get rid of him. But Alexander Skarsgård's not a bad idea for Brainiac. I'd be like, how'd you like to be all green? Call up Zoe Saldana. James Gunn is like, I'm pretty good at it. But I think a lot of us were like, where is World's Finest? These two are ready. Oh, Anthony Starr is an interesting choice. Although he would just be basically playing Homelander. But, Michael Fassbender would basically be playing David. Anthony Starr needs a job because they're wrapping up The Boys. I love Anthony Starr, and I think he would do very well with James Gunn. X-Men Superman says, it seems like James Gunn is going to have the Justice League roster some of the animated ones. Let's see. We're getting ahead of ourselves. And also, we can talk about that next week. Oh, look at Dark Avenue thanking Francis. You guys are so sweet. Sam Reed, don't you paint Sam Reed green. I don't want Sam Reed to be Brainiac. That's a waste of Sam Reed, in my opinion. And you're right, Mystic. It probably will be Alan Tudyk. Although he's very good at playing a robot, so I don't know if I would complain that much about it. Don't overthink it, Guy Ty. There's just a little bit of movement in the Justice Gang, but it's not anything huge. We'll talk about it next week, but don't get ahead of yourselves. It's not a huge thing. Okay. I can't talk about Peacemaker until tomorrow. My review will drop at noon. Do not get me in trouble. Okay, so thanks to Guy Time. All right, so yeah, I think Matt Reeves is really holding this thing up, my friends. What the heck, Matt Reeves? Who made you the boss? Nobody. He's not the boss. Matt Reeves is not in charge. He's not David Zaslav. He's not James Gunn. So the fact that he's able to hold up this whole frickin' Batman situation is very frustrating. Like, what's going to happen? Is Matt Reeves going to make a Batman trilogy while James Gunn makes a Superman trilogy? And then in 10 years, they make a World's Finest? I mean, we just don't want to wait this long for this stuff. I mean, that's a little bit of the problem that exists today. People are like, I don't want to wait that long. You know, like, it's like they're putting things off so far in the future. It's frustrating. We'll see what happens. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, I really do think that, you know, it's interesting you say that, Marco. I feel like James Gunn needs a stronger producer. And we're going to talk about that a little bit in the Paramount section. But yeah, but I also think that maybe perhaps James Gunn is wary of continuing to follow too closely in the footsteps of Zack Snyder. If he did do World's Finest, people would be like, dude, that's exactly what Zack Snyder did. But I'd be like, but look how Zack Snyder leveled up his box office with that change. Man of Steel made $670, Batman v Superman, while everybody complained about it, still made in the 800 range. So people just like Batman, and I think people are just like, again, just like, he's like James Gunn's like, fine, you wanted Brainiac, I'll give you Brainiac. And we're like, no, we finished screaming about that. Now we're screaming about putting David Corenswet and Robert Pattinson together. Like, we could not be more, some people don't want it, but you're wrong. But it's just crazy. I mean, let's see how Supergirl does. I think James Gunn is nuts to fast track a Superman sequel before he sees how Supergirl does. But let's see. I mean, look, here's the thing. Here's how I feel about it. I'm a comic book fan. I particularly like DC. I loved what James Gunn did with Superman. I would love to see his next Superman movie. And if it's a Superman Saga with Supergirl and Krypto and Brainiac, sign me up. I'm there day one, super excited. I'm there with bells on. But then I have to switch to my business hat and I wonder about the general public. You know? Like, let's just see what happens. I'm just very nervous about it. So does anybody have any questions or comments about this story before we move to the next story of the day? Sebastian says, do you think the budget will increase with the new saga, even though Superman didn't make as much as expected? Oh, that's a great question. I would decrease the budget. I'd be like, I'm only going to give you 180, 185. John Teal says, what about Josh Brolin as Thomas Wayne? What about Josh? He can't be Brainiac, though. He was already Thanos. I don't ship David and Robert, but I like them together. I mean, I see that I've never heard of the Superbad ship, although you guys are introducing me to that crazy world. But I do think that they belong together in a movie. And I think I don't want to wait 10 years to get that movie. Ryan Sanchez says, we talk about actors being overexposed, but does behind-the-scenes talent like James Gunn risk overexposure? Oh, for sure. For sure. And, you know, he really needs to get other people, other creators in here. Right now, so far, it's the James Gunn show, you know? Sadie says, imagine if Supergirl got the Barbie explosion. You know, it's interesting because Supergirl's never been a very popular character. I'm sure some Supergirl fans are like, how dare you? But even in the comics, Supergirl has never been extremely popular. You know, I keep trying to buy her comic. The latest one is just not good. I tried to read it. I really did. But, you know, she's a tough character. You know, Helen Slater played her back in the day when they tried to do something off of the 1978. Christopher Reeve Superman. You know, she's been in the animated series. So Tame the Three Bears says, as a Supergirl fan, this is fair. I appreciate that. Thank you, Tame the Three Bears. Yeah, I just think, you know, maybe Supergirl will be an amazing character. I really think that Millie Alcock does a great job in the current Netflix miniseries Sirens. So maybe she'd be great. Maybe we'll all fall in love with Supergirl finally, you know? But, you know, I'd be honest with you, I'd be very surprised if, like, she became a Harley Quinn's or Wonder Woman level character. But maybe, you know, I mean, they're going to have to significantly change the characters, which is what looks like they're doing. Silent Magician says Pedro Pascal is Batman. No, he won't shave, so Batman can't have a mustache. X-Men Superman fan says, do you think it's time to focus on a Wonder Woman project? He said he's writing it with Anna Nogueira as we speak, and I think we all know that Adria Arjona probably is Wonder Woman. So I think that probably will be announced fairly soon, hopefully. Let's just see. I don't know. I hope that the DC stuff gets to a higher level. Right now, it's operating at like a mid-level franchise, and I don't know, unless something drastic happens, I don't think that's going to change, which is a problem. Chico says, what are your thoughts on James Gunn's comment about Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn? Well, you know, again, you're asking him just like anything. He's supposed to have an answer for you right on the spot. I mean, that's a really tough position to be in. I think, you know, he's just keeping a door open. I don't think he has. And also, I don't know if Margot Robbie would come back as Harley Quinn, to be honest with you. Why would she? She's already so wealthy. She made $50 million off of Barbie. She's extremely successful. I think she's going to be focused on trying to win an Oscar. I think that, you know, I think that's Margot Robbie's new life goal, to win an Oscar. And I think that's the correct next goal. So that's what she's going to be doing with her life. I think that was a chapter in her life that served her very well. And I think she said very nicely that she always imagined it as a character that somebody else would come over and take on. And so, you know, she had said she'd hoped it would be Lady Gaga, and that didn't work out. And that's right, Birds of Prey was such a disaster for her. I don't know why she would want to potentially risk another one. I would advise her against it. And by the way, I don't think any of her upcoming movies, A Big Beautiful Journey or this Wuthering Heights, are going to win her an Oscar. So she's going to have to keep trying. So yeah, I would recast Harley Quinn for the DCU. And there, by the way, I'd like to point out there are a number of wonderful options for a new Harley. Mickey Madison, Anya Taylor-Joy. These are fabulous choices. Go discover someone new that no one's ever heard of before. Look what's going on with Gladys as Amy Madigan. You know, thank you, Echelon. I mean, I think, you know, I don't think you should go. I don't think that Margot Robbie will be able to recapture the magic of David Ayer's Suicide Squad, to be honest with you. Julia Garner, I don't think she's a good Harley, but I like the thought process. I think that Mikey Madison is a great Harley. It might be too. Sophie Thatcher would be a great Harley. I don't know. She might be a little bit too smart. You know, Harley has to be able to be the ditz. And I don't know. Sophie Thatcher is a good actress, but I don't know if she has that kind of range. But there are some good choices. J. Jonah Jameson. I'm not even going to say that. Let's see here. Harley is a psychologist, but she doesn't present as intelligent. So you can be able to switch back and forth. But yeah, you guys are like, Harley's a doctor. She is, but it's always supposed to be a surprise when she says something intelligent. You're supposed to be like, oh, wow. And I just think that, you have to pick an actress who can to do the, there's a certain part of Harley that I think is the most important. Sophia says, when should Lanterns come out? The trailer. When will the Green Lanterns connect to the larger DCU? Well, I think there will probably be some hints, hopefully. I think Lanterns is sometime this year, and they've already filmed it. I'm not sure. Maybe around let's see. Oh, CCXP is a pretty good guess, Ben 10. Or maybe, I don't know, New York Comic-Con? Comic-Con's filling up, and Warner Brothers is already very busy there. They're presenting Mortal Kombat at New York Comic-Con. So I think, let's see. I'm very excited. X-Men Superfan, I would not want an absolute Wonder Woman take on the character because it's just a ripoff of Wanda. Okay, let's go to the next story of the day. Okay. Evie Templeton is Harley Quinn. That's an interesting choice, Dory. I think she's a little too young, but I like where you're going with that. I like Evie Templeton. She's a character in the new Wednesday. She's an actress in the new Wednesday series. She's great. But that's a good example of finding someone new. Although I have to say, Evie Templeton, when she was on the red carpet for Wednesday, she, because it takes so long to release these things. Where is that? Okay. Because it takes so long to release these things, she's pretty big already. So she could be could audition for Harley Quinn. All right, but she'd be significantly younger than the other actors. Where's my arrow? Okay, there it is. Okay, story number 2. Boop. Okay, sure enough. Now, when Weapons came out, well, first off, let's just say that Weapons is really doing well. Weapons is the August sensation. There's usually a movie that comes out, if Hollywood is lucky, at the beginning of August. I'll try not to have any spoilers, Jordan, just in case. I'm going to be and please be careful in the comment section because some people haven't seen Weapons. Okay, so we're going to talk about this just a little bit. Okay. There's going to be slight spoilers, I'm afraid, because you're not going to be going in blind. All right, so yes, as Stephen just pointed out, Weapons just crossed 100 million globally last night, and the movie only cost 38 million, so it's already made back its money, and it hasn't even been a full week. So if Hollywood is lucky, there's an August sensation film that comes out at the beginning of the month. In the past, it was Guardians of the Galaxy, it was the original Suicide Squad. This is a small horror movie that is just blowing up. I'm very curious to see what its second weekend hold is going to be. I'm hoping it's very, very low. That's right, The Sixth Sense, Mika. That's a great example a long time ago. Also a small film. So it had, I think, a lot of qualifiers, but its Monday was like 5.2 million, which was the biggest Monday for a horror film in August ever. But in fact, I think its Monday was bigger than Sinners Monday. So it's really, really doing well. Really, really doing well. And as Alberto pointed out, is a fantastic theatrical experience. The audience is really, really keyed in, and it's really fun to experience it with a big audience. So I do recommend seeing it in theaters if you can. Now, last weekend, when the movie was doing so well, as it was doing well in its first weekend, I said, should they do a sequel or a prequel? And I had you guys vote on it, and one of the other options was leave it alone. And a lot of you were like, it doesn't need a sequel. It doesn't need a prequel. Just leave it alone, man. Well, that's not how Hollywood works. They're like, we see money here. It's very popular. What can we do to continue with this? Although you got to be careful that it doesn't blow up in your face like Joker 2 did. Although that was really Todd Phillips' fault. He went full Joker himself. Now, it just so happens that the original script had a Gladys chapter. The film is told in chapters from different characters' perspectives to fill out the story. And Gladys, in the original draft, had a chapter herself. But Zach Cregger says he cut it for time. He said that, the movie was going on for too long, and maybe he wanted to keep Gladys as more of a mysterious character, and so he cut it. But that means he's already started to work on it and has a head start on doing a prequel, which would tell the origin story of Gladys. This is tough. We'll see how it works out. I don't know what the chapter is, so it might be really good. We're assuming that maybe he sticks the landing. Now, what I am concerned about is, who is going to play Gladys? Amy Madigan is phenomenal in the role. That's the actress, Amy Madigan, Ed Harris's wife. She was a very popular actress back in the day, in the 90s, but she hasn't worked for a while. I think there would be, how far back in Gladys's history are you going to go? I think if they recast Gladys with a more well-known younger actress, I think that would be really horrific and really bad publicity for the franchise. So I think Amy Madigan would, of course, play part of the role at least, but again, it depends on how far back they decide to go with Gladys's story. But is it still a good hook? I think that the reason that Weapons works is that it's really a story about missing kids and the weirdness of them all being from one classroom and how they disappear. And the metaphor for that. If they do this, they'd basically just be doing a movie version of Agatha All Along, right? So I feel like this is very, very tricky. Although Agatha All Along was extremely popular. So potentially. So it might work. Now, what's really interesting to me, though, I think above all, is that this is Warner Brothers' effort to keep Zach Cregger at Warner Brothers. Because, of course, next he's doing the Resident Evil movies for Sony. So he's leaving the studio. And I think they really, really want to make sure that they keep him in-house. It's a race for talent these days, and Cregger has been theirs. And so they're like, how can we keep him here? How can we make sure that he stays at the studio? And I think a quick green light of a Gladys prequel is a strong way to do that. So let's see, though. But Zach Cregger, by the way, could not be more successful. What an amazing blueprint for creators. This guy went from being a comedy guy, like doing sketches, very much like Jordan Peele, and then went at the horror route. But his agent, Puck News spotlighted his agent at CAA, who was making this guy so much money. He got I think 8 or 10 million for Weapons, but then he put some of it back into the movie, which I thought was really commendable. He gave up some of his salary so that the film would have a better budget, which I thought was really fantastic. But I believe they got him 20 million personally for Resident Evil. That's nuts. That's really incredible that that they were able to secure him that much money. So Zach Cregger's doing really well. And it's unusual to hear the paydays for newer. You usually will hear the payday for someone who's been around for a long time, but that Zach Cregger is already making $20 million, and we know that that's more than James Gunn. James Gunn got $15 million for Superman, and Zach Cregger got 20 for Resident Evil. My God, does Zach Cregger have a good agent? That's right, Danny. Maybe James Gunn got less money because he's also he's getting paid. I'm sure Zazie was like, dude, I'm already paying you a DC salary. I'm sure James Gunn gets bonus points, but that's just amazing. And I agree. Mike said he deserves it. I think Zach Cregger really delivered. In fact, people are saying that $20 million for Resident Evil was actually a great deal, considering how hot Cregger is right now, and that Sony got him before this happened. So that's just incredible. It's just absolutely amazing. All right, so by the way, a lot of people are always like, I want to be an actor. I want to be on screen. You can make a lot of money behind the camera in many different positions. You don't have to just be a director. So when you're trying to think of a career you would like in Hollywood, just remember there are a lot of options. Silent Magician says, Magic Wand, you are making this movie. What type of origin do you want to see for Gladys? Is she a good person turned bad, or was she bad from the start? I don't know. I trust Zach Cregger. I think he does a really good job. I would just like to see what he what he comes up with. I'm very curious. I think he's a very special, unique talent. The legendary movie critic points out that he's telling his own Resident Evil movie, but it is faithful to the games. That's the best thing, because nobody knows what it's going to be. That means it's going to be full of surprises, which I think is excellent. Oh, DeGuy I'm glad I was able to inspire you. Yeah, never be too dead set on one specific thing. You know, you never know where your life and your career is going to take you. You know, you should be open to, you know, what doors open for you and what ends up being the best fit for you. Zach Cregger started out wanting to be an on-camera comedian, and yet look where he's found his most success. And Juan makes an excellent point that Warner Brothers is in fact following the Conjuring blueprint, because of course they went off of, they spun off of the Conjuring Annabelle, and Gladys is a similar situation. That's really smart. That's really good. Okay. They released a new trailer for Peacemaker? That's funny. Again, I can't say anything about it. Stop trying to trick me into saying stuff about Peacemaker. My review will drop tomorrow. It's very long. I hope you enjoy it. Okay. Plum Smarkle says Cregger should direct a Marvel movie. I don't think, no. I mean, he doesn't need to. And also, by the way, he wants to go to DC. He made that very clear. James Gunn lucks out yet again. Okay. Let's go to the third story of the day. Boom, baby. All right, let's get to know our new friends at Paramount. So yes, this last week, the Skydance Paramount merger has been completed. And I have to say, I was quite shocked to see the new logo, because I wanted to get the logo for this. And I found out, and it's called Paramount Skydance Corporation. I was like, what? Paramount is the bigger name. Why would you still want to save the Skydance name? I mean, that to me, I mean, you might keep Skydance as a separate company still and retain its autonomy, but the fact that it would go Paramount, a Skydance Corporation, when nobody really knows the Skydance name, I mean, I guess they do now. And Paramount is just such a storied organization. You know, that's interesting. Pi points out that it's like Warner Brothers Discovery. Maybe, but I think Discovery is a bigger name than Skydance. Some of you think Skydance has name recognition. I think it does now because people have been talking about it for a long time. But it's crazy. Paramount is such an iconic brand. The fact that you would do anything, I guess that they did it to Warner Brothers too, but then they just undid it. So, all right, so David Ellison, now he is the head. This is David Ellison. Get to know this guy because he's now the head of Paramount. And he is doing a press tour, not only to tell everybody what they have planned. We'll talk about Skydance in a moment. Not only to talk about what they have planned, but I think to raise his profile. He wants to be a new Bob Iger, a new David Zaslav, a James Gunn. Talk about me, right? So he's going around doing all this press. I'm surprised that Donna Langley doesn't have a bigger profile. She has been saying some things at CinemaCon that get a little bit of press. I think she does a great job. I think she's really, you guys are getting ahead of me reading the notes. But, you know, I wish that she would, you know, be a little bit more in the public eye. Although that doesn't always work out so well. Just ask Kathleen Kennedy. Donna Langley runs Universal Films. She does a great job. And she says really smart things at CinemaCon. But, you know, and Kathleen Kennedy, it's her own fault because she just said, she said really bad things about male fans. And so not surprisingly, they turned on her. Okay. But David Ellison is going around doing a press tour, inviting press to come and talk to her. She is a woman of color, but, you know, I think she's really cool. I think, you know, come on, Donna, get out here. Go out. I mean, people are saying bad stuff about Bob Iger and David Zaslav, and, you know, they're not letting it hurt them. You know, don't let people push you out of spaces. I feel very strongly about that. And I think that women let that happen to themselves sometimes, and I think that's really bad. You want to be in here too. Okay, so Skydance. What is Skydance? Skydance is a little bit like Legendary. Skydance started out as a finance company, a film finance company. It would, you know, you needed money for a big franchise. Larry Ellison, who has Oracle, so he just has so much money. It's a tech company, Oracle, so much money. So you would go to them and you would get a whole lot of money. And then they started to use that ability of financing films to become a production company. So it's almost, Legendary's kind of faded away because they had some scandals with their, I believe their the head of them. But Skydance has not, and now it has purchased Paramount. That's just how much money Larry Ellison has, that he can buy a studio, right? And David Ellison is his son. And that's right, his sister ran Annapurna and ran it into the ground. Okay, so Skydance, by the way, I want to point out to you that Skydance is the company that has financed most of these movies and produced most of these movies. So that's a big reason, bye William, that's a big reason, that's why he's so interested in focusing on these, because he has been working on them for years already. Okay, so let's go through the list. Top Gun 3, duh. Tom Cruise has not only been in the Paramount business for quite some time, although Zazzy's trying to steal him, but Skydance has been financing Tom Cruise movies for a very long time. They're behind the Mission Impossible franchise. They help pay for those movies. So also, Top Gun Maverick made $1 billion. I'd be scared if they could maybe do that again. And that's right, Mission Impossible's going on hiatus. So I think it would be great to bring in another Top Gun. That would be a priority, I think, for anybody. Although Tom Cruise also is very busy and trying to win an Oscar himself. He's going to send himself to space. I'd be like, no, Tom, not before you film Top Gun 3. Then you can do whatever you want. Okay, so we'll see what happens with Top Gun 3 and how quickly they can move that along. Joseph Kosinski, who directed it and directed F1, is also very busy right now. So it would be hard to maybe bring that around. A lot of people were surprised about the World War Z mention. Even the press were like, World War Z? But don't forget that before F1, this was Brad Pitt's most successful movie of all time. It's still pretty successful. And also, this was a Skydance movie. Skydance paid for this film. So obviously, it has a special place in David Ellison's heart. I thought World War Z was a really good movie. I was surprised that they never made a sequel. See, everybody kind of likes World War Z. I think it would be a great idea to bring back a World War Z film. So hopefully they figure it out. But I think World War Z is just a great brand. World War Z, you're like, I know what that is. It's fantastic. It just sells itself, and it did. All right, then, of course, they want to get more into horror, right? Everybody wants to be in the horror business right now. It's just printing money. And Paramount has been doing really well. They, of course, have the Quiet Place franchise. They just greenlit A Quiet Place 3. And the Smile franchise did very well for them. The second one, not quite as well as the first, but still it did well. So, Paramount wants to have, they're in that space too. Then he brought up two, of course, very big franchises for Paramount, Star Trek and Transformers, which again, Skydance has financed. So let's talk about that. The last Star Trek movie, 2016. It's been almost 10 years since we've had a Star Trek movie. I think they definitely need to bring Star Trek back, and I think they're going to have to recast it. I love the cast. I thought they did a nice job, and these actors are still working. Do you recast Star Trek, or do you have a new crew? I maybe wouldn't bring a new Kirk. You don't need a new Kirk. People have been really enjoying the shows with, also there's people loved Picard, right? Oh, let's do a poll. That's right. This is a good one for a poll. Who should be the crew for the new Star Trek? Chris Pine, Captain Kirk. Let's see here. These movies are so old that Chris Hemsworth played Captain Kirk's brother in the very first new Star Trek movie. And he was an unknown at that time, which is so funny. Okay, new Captain Kirk. That's right, Pedro Pascal. But I think he'd do actually pretty well. All new crew. Okay. You know what? I kind of would like an all-new crew. And by the way, anyone who's watching can vote in a poll. You don't have to be a member to vote in a poll. You could still, Chris Pine is still around. Patrick Stewart is still around as Picard. His father, not his brother. Thank you. why not have a new captain and then they could go and meet Picard and Kirk? I like that idea a lot. A Tarantino Star Trek. You can hear swears in space. Digital Leonardo says, I love what the shows are doing on Paramount Plus with Kirk and the crew and wouldn't want the movies to have competing versions of those characters. Is Kirk on those shows? I thought it was an all new crew on those shows. J. Jonah Jameson, the first Star Trek was excellent with Chris Pine. Remember Carl Urban was the Doctor? Zoe Saldana. I mean, these were good movies. I mean, the first one was good. The second two were not very good. He's in Star Trek Strange New Worlds? Chris Pine is on Star Trek Strange New Worlds? Let me look this up. You know, I got to tell you, Paramount is very aggressive with people covering their shows. So nobody really covers. It's not Chris Pine. It's a new actor. What the heck? What the heck? That's ridiculous. I say boo to that. How ridiculous. But I'm glad you guys are enjoying it. But yeah, but nobody's covering Star Trek because they're just so aggressive at Paramount Plus. I hope David Ellison changes that policy. All right, then also he said, let me give you a moment to vote. Just give you another moment. Not too many people have an opinion on this. Last chance to vote. That's right, boo, boo. Okay, all right, I'm closing the poll. Okay, 58% of you agree with me, all new crew. 32% would like to see Chris Pine come back. That's nice for Chris Pine. And then only 9% want a new Captain Kirk. They say, oh, Plum Sparkle says the new actor's great. That's nice. I'm very happy for Star Trek fans. And then the legendary movie critic says the Andor writers are working on a new Star Trek movie. Is it in good hands? I think Andor was not at all commercial, which makes me a little nervous. I'm like, you're going to have another writer come in here and add the fighting, right? I just closed the poll, Janet. I'm so sorry. I just closed it. Okay. All right. So then also he said Transformers. He'd love to do more Transformers, obviously, right? Now, Transformers isn't in a great space right now, but it will never die. It's just too big of a brand. Then he also talked about the fact they want to do original films, and that's right. They won the bidding war for the new Timothée Chalamet, James Mangold project. What is it? It's this kind of racing, so it's more racing. And James Mangold, of course, did Ford v Ferrari and did a nice job there. And it's a heist movie about a disgraced racer played by Timothée Chalamet who ends up being a getaway driver for bank robberies. So that could be pretty good. I think that's a great project with Timothée Chalamet. I gotta tell you, I didn't love the Marty Supreme trailer. I'm glad to see that some of you liked it. I thought it was a little weak. I don't react to A24 trailers, so I did not. But I didn't love it. I thought, and I agree that it's just so similar to Uncut Gems. It's just basically Uncut Gems. But I don't know. I also think that Timothée Chalamet needs to be careful. I think a lot of his stuff lately just seems like I think he's losing sight of the importance of the artistry of what he does. And I think it makes it seem like he just wants to be famous. And I think that couldn't be a worse idea for him to do. And I really like Timothée Chalamet. I think he's extremely talented. I think he's an incredible actor with a lot of range. He was amazing in Wonka. But he also wants an Oscar, by the way. He really, really wants an Oscar. And yeah, that's right, Sam. Is Timothée Chalamet approaching overexposure? Margot Robbie, I'm such a big Margot Robbie fan these days. She was so smart. After Barbie came out, Margot Robbie said people had seen a lot of her as Barbie for that press campaign and then the awards tour. She said, I'm taking a break so that people get a break from me. And she went and she had a baby. And she worked on getting her next projects ready and producing things. She's producing a lot of things. And I thought that was very smart of her. And now she's slowly coming back. And, I think people are ready for her to come back now. They're like, oh, yeah, I missed you, Margot. So great. But yes, I do think Wuthering Heights is going to be a big problem for her. And we all told her it was a mistake. As soon as she was cast in Wuthering Heights, we all said, mistake, don't do it. You know, the internet's very good, you know. It can be a tough place, but they know what they're doing. All right, then he says, of course, he wants to make some family films, original films, and then also he name-checked Taylor Sheridan. Oh, Landman's coming back. I think it's coming back in November of next year or something. I'm so excited for more Landman. It's such a good show. But he talked about Taylor Sheridan, he said, who is an entire industry for the studio. They just, you know, Taylor Sheridan, everything he touches turns to gold. And I think that's true to a degree. Although Taylor Sheridan is also prepping a movie, which is very exciting. Oh, this November. Oh, I'm so excited. Landman is such a good show. Such a good show. Such a good show. But yes, so Taylor Sheridan, he's prepping a movie as well, which I'm very excited about. The actor from It Ends With Us and also 1923, Brendan something, he's the star of that movie, and it sounds a lot like Sicario. I think it's going to do really well. But yes, Yellowstone, a.k.a. Gold, right? Brendan Sklenar, thank you. But I think Brendan Sklenar has a lot of potential. I think he could be a really big star, so I'm excited. So yeah, I agree. I would invest a lot of money in Taylor Sheridan as well. His shows, I don't think his shows are political, but I think they do appeal quite a bit to conservatives. And that's why they just do so incredibly well. I think like Landman is something anyone can enjoy. It's just a great show. I really like Landman a lot. I think to me, that's the best thing that he's done. Andre, Hell or High Water, which co-starred Chris Pine. Thank you very much. That was a great movie. See, somebody who's a conservative said they like Landman, and so does Plum Sparkle as a progressive. See, Landman's a great show. Great show. But I wanted to talk about something else that he said, David Ellison. So David Ellison said, great filmmakers will make you great movies. And I think that's only partially true. I think people, as I've said many times, and as Thanos says, it's all about balance. It's really, really important to have a good balance of art and business in Hollywood. That's what Hollywood is. It's a mix of the two. So, while it's important to have great filmmakers, it's important to have a great executive who can shepherd those filmmakers. Again, as I said, James Gunn desperately needs some kind of business oversight, and he doesn't have it. Peter Safran's not that individual. It's very important. That's right. You know, J. Jonah Jameson points out that Ridley Scott delivered a piece of poop in Gladiator 2. You know, where was the executive who was like, Ridley, I love you, baby, but this ain't it? And I want to point out two really great executives. So, of course, there's Robert Evans, who was played by Matthew Goode on The Offer. Please, I'm telling you, watch The Offer. Also on Paramount Plus, by the way, if you haven't seen it, to see how the system is supposed to work, all the way down the chain of command. And Robert Evans was the head of Paramount Studios, and so he was kind of caught in the middle between the parent company and the artists. And Robert Evans, who himself wanted to be an actor and really, he was an addict. Robert Evans was certainly not a saint, but he was an absolute, Maria loved it. She loved The Offer, but Robert Evans was an incredible film executive. He took stands, he fought for what he believed in, but yet he also was a realist and understood what needed to be delivered. Really, really good stuff. So Robert Evans is a wonderful example of that. And then another executive that never gets enough credit is Jeff Robinov, who used to work at Warner Bros. And he quit when Kevin Tsujihara got promoted to the head of the studio instead of him. And he was very frustrated that that happened. But Jeff Robinov, and I can understand why he was frustrated, but it's a shame that he kind of faded away. He was supposed to go be a big part of some other place. I forget what it was, but that never materialized. But Jeff Robinov, Warner Brothers is doing very well right now, but during the heyday of Warner Brothers recently with Christopher Nolan and all the Leonardo DiCaprio movies and Ben Affleck, Jeff Robinov was the one shepherding these projects, keeping these great talents at the studio, and he really did just a phenomenal job. And it's weird that he's just disappeared, considering what a great talent that he was. But, I would love, if some of you are considering a job in the movie industry, consider industry suit. I think the problem is that maybe agents have a little bit too much power these days. maybe the people who are on the business side have a little bit too much power. But, oh, thank you, Elpidio. But Hollywood is served best when they have talented people in every division, and that includes executives. And so I think if you watch The Studio, which is why it's such a great show, you can kind of see what the current Hollywood ecosphere is like. And if you compare The Studio to The Offer, you can see how much the business has changed, which is fascinating. Was Jeff Robinoff a producer on Nosferatu? That makes me very happy. I'm glad he's still working. But yeah, so I really would encourage all these executives who are taking over. And by the way, Kevin Feige, at least for a while, a long while, a decade, was that kind of executive as well. You know, I would encourage the Igers and the Zaslavs and the Langley. Oh, Langley's doing a great job. And the Ellisons of Hollywood to find these great executives to oversee their movies. Okay, does anybody have any questions or comments about this before we get to the Q&A? Doing excellent on time. I'm very proud of myself. Hey, Daniel, I'm sorry you're late, but you did make the live stream. It was early today. Bye, Danny. Any questions? I think you guys are ready for the Q&A. You don't seem to have any specific questions about this story. All right, let's go to the... I'm glad you're enjoying the stream, Ryan. Justin says, my local AMC's last day of business is today. It was my first job 25 years ago. You loved being a projectionist and building movies. I only spliced 3 trailers in front of movies back then. Oh, wow, what a time. I'm sorry that AMC is closing. That's very sad. I wish they would work harder to preserve the movie theater going experience. Okay, Q&A time, 10 minutes. Okay. Hold on. Liam says, Paramount has a large amount of left-leaning and LGBTQ content in the TV space. How do you see this merger affecting that? I'm not sure. That's a good question. I would hope that Ellison, let's see if he pulls a Zazie or not, Is he going to be all about the bottom line, or is he going to want to make sure that he's popular with fans in the media as well? We'll see what he decides to do. We already know that he's going to pull CBS News more to the middle. He said he's going to make CBS News center-right, and he's going to invest heavily in Taylor Sheridan. I think he'd be smart to have a balance in just the way things are running. Oh, Elpidio, good luck with your boss. I'm sure you'll deliver. Oh, thanks, NGN8. Very sweet of you. Thank you. Ryan says, what are your thoughts on Ryan Reynolds' Avengers tease? I think he really needs a break, boy. I don't know if he should be, maybe in Secret Wars. I don't know. I mean, there's a rumor going around that he might be in Doomsday, right? I mean, I like Ryan Reynolds as Loki Deadpool quite a bit. So let's see. Jonah says, hope Universal gets it together and starts the deal to purchase Warner Brothers. Yeah, I think we all want to see Warner Brothers go to Universal if that's the case. Oh, Bigsby says, what are your thoughts on K-pop Demon Hunters going to theaters? I'm very happy for it. I think it's definitely starting its push for Oscars, and I was happy. I checked the ticket sales, and it is selling tickets, so I think that's really nice that people want to go. Dancing Dog 60 wants to point out that Alan Ladd Jr. was a great executive in the 70s. That's fantastic. Not quite as famous, but yes. Max says, do you think that James Gunn answers too much on social media? I think it's a delicate balance. I think that his interaction with the fans has given him a lot of loyalty with his hardcore fans. Although at the same time, it's not helping his box office get it where it needs to be, right? So what's the point? I think he's just getting himself in trouble because he changes his mind, and he has the right to change his mind. But I think that people don't really I think people confuse having casual interactions with him on Twitter is like official announcements. And it doesn't help that some of the trades will cover his comments as a real announcement. I'm glad you feel good about the Paramount Skydance merger, Plum Sparkle. Adam Sphere says, if you could greenlight a new theme park land, would it be Wicked or Barbie? I think it would be Wicked, probably. I think that I don't know. I don't know if people would want to go to Barbie. Maybe I'd do a Barbie restaurant or something, but I think that Wicked can sustain an entire land. I'm not in a ride. I'm not sure about Barbie. Oh, I'm sorry you didn't enjoy Weapons, X-Veils. You really didn't like it. Wow. Let's see here. Let's see here. Britt says, what are your thoughts on Margot and the Tim Burton movie? I did not cover it. She signed on to do the Attack of the 50-Foot Woman with Tim Burton. Great idea. That is a perfect choice for her. I'm glad she's still doing some commercial projects. Fernan says, have you heard anything regarding the rumor that Doomsday Casting Part 2? I heard that wasn't true, as I said at the beginning of the stream. Maybe it'll end up being true. You know, you never know for sure. I mean, we're all just talking to our sources. But I heard that was incorrect. But we'll see. Dr. 1137 says, thoughts on Disney closing Hulu? I think it's a real shame. I just hope that when Disney rolls everything into Disney Plus, you know, Hulu and ESPN, I hope that they divide I hope they create 3 different experiences in the app and you can go into different areas. I think Paramount Plus, for instance, whenever you open that app, or Peacock, it feels like you're going into a junk drawer. It's just real. Disney Plus, one of the best things it had going for it is that it felt like a Disney space. And they're losing that quality. Digital Leonardo, I'm so glad we could keep you company on the bus this morning. Let's see. E.S. Vingarcia says, would DC ever be sold separately? Heck no, because it's part of the value of Warner Brothers for sure. Plum Sparkle says, if the Clayface movie does well, could that push Marvel into making a Hulk movie, or will that never happen because of Disney's deal with Universal? But Clayface and Hulk are so different. I don't think it would. You know, Hulk's not horror. Let's see here. Floppy Disk says, sorry to hear that AMC is closing, but your AMC is doing an IMAX screen. Hello, yay! You don't have to commute anymore. That's fantastic. David says, what are your thoughts on the new Glinda poster? Did it just come out today? The other one, I didn't like her dress very much. I'll check out Taylor's new album, Bunny Librarian. I got to think about it, I'll certainly listen to it. Everybody wants to know my thoughts on Taylor Swift. I don't know. Let's see here. Another Wanda Stan says, hey, Grace, favorite character in Alien Earth? The Eye, that little eye alien. I like that alien a lot. I also like the Brother Joe quite a bit. And Morrow, as you know from my review, Morrow was my favorite. But I've seen more episodes than you. Thoughts on Netflix not pushing for Wake Up Dead Man on cinema screens? Well, they really push their own streaming service. Let's see. Alex says, can we poll killing Homelander versus don't kill him? That's right. My tweet yesterday ended up being quite controversial. So many of you want to see Homelander die. I would like to see Homelander lose his powers. That's what I want to see. Ryan, they just announced that Thunderbolts was coming to Disney Plus today. They just gave a timetable for it. So let me see. August 27th. The day of that potential announcement, maybe? Let's see here. Oh, I didn't see those Greta Gerwig Narnia set photos. On my pleasure, I could stream on your birthday. I'll have to look those up. Let's see here. Oh, Oasis, I'm sorry you're having a terrible day. That makes me sad. You guys all want to kill Homelander. Gerard says, Grace, since Titans is casting soon, are they really cast? I think the Titans movie is such a big mistake. Who would you cast for Nightwing, especially since there's so much discourse about certain required assets? Assets? Well, as I always said, I thought, back in the day, Zac Efron would have been an interesting choice. I'm not sure. I kind of like, I'm not sure who they're going to cast. I think that a Titans movie is such a bad idea. I just can't tell you what a bad idea I think a Titans movie is. Mike would like to see Homelander lose his powers and then die. That is funny. You guys are so funny. I love it. Oh, TL Marshall says I missed their question. I'm going back. Might be too far back. I'm trying to find it. Oh, what did you think of the trailer for Scarlett's debut, Eleanor the Great? I didn't watch it. I have no interest in that movie. But thank you for asking. Let's see here. Alex from Weapons for Robin. Oh, he's going to be too big, unfortunately. But someone that age right now. Kids get big fast. And by the time they actually film that movie, I think he'll be too big. But yes, someone that age who's like that is the perfect age for Robin. I mean, they're going to go into production pretty soon. I don't know what that kid looks like right now, because of course they film movies like a decent amount of time before they release them. But maybe. Oh, it's been 10 minutes. All right, I must go. Thank you so much for joining me for today's live stream. I had a wonderful time talking to you, as always. The next live stream will be tomorrow, probably at around 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And at noon, my Peacemaker Season 2 non-spoiler review shall be dropping. All right, everybody, see you soon. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye. Bye-bye-bye. Bye-bye.